Here's the part nobody tells you about weddings. The people who keep the plate spinning are usually running on fumes, secrets, and stubborn loyalty. I was all three. By sunrise, I'd be maid of honor to my oldest friend. By nightfall, I'd be the reason her wedding didn't happen. I didn't plan a scandal. I planned a timeline. Lena and I met in 7th grade. 2 kids hiding in the library from gym class. We learned each other's allergies and favorite pens before we learned calculus. Chosen sisters is what we called it. The kind of bond that survives moves, bad bangs, and boyfriends who think your best friend is a rival soccer team. When she asked me to stand beside her, I said yes before she finished the sentence. The rehearsal weekend tried its best to break us. Flights were delayed. The venue coordinator called out sick with something feverish and dramatic. Boutonnieres vanished like socks in a dryer. I had spreadsheets named after disasters and an emergency kit that could have patched a small spaceship. Bobby pins, stain pen, and tassets, sewing kit, double-sided tape. Everyone joked I should put logistics gremlin on my resume. I smiled and ran interference. I pulled Lena's mom back from a spiral when the napkins were 2 shades off from the swatches. I texted vendors at midnight and massaged timelines until they hummed. By 1:15 a.m., after the rehearsal dinner finally sputtered to a close, I was outside the hotel's loading dock with Caleb, the groom. We weren't hiding. We were cooling down like overworked engines, splitting a granola bar that tasted like cardboard and heroism. He looked exhausted in that tucked shirt way, top button undone, tie slouched. "I don't deserve how much you've done," he said. "You deserve her," I said, and meant it. We laughed the laugh you laugh when the worst is behind you and bed is somewhere past a mountain of laundry. He stepped forward for a hug, the pressure release kind that knocks the air back into your ribs. I let myself sink into it for 3 seconds. I didn't have to be useful. Then we kissed. 3 seconds. No tongue, no hands wandering, no music swelling, just an exhausted, stupid spark. We broke apart at the same time, both saying no, like we practiced it. My stomach dropped as if I'd missed a stare in the dark. "Absolutely not," I said. "Oh, God," he said. We apologized in circles, clumsy and fast. He said it was the stress. I said it was nothing good. We promised to never let it touch daylight. To protect Lena, to act normal because the morning would demand it. He went one way down the service corridor. I went the other and cried into a towel so my roommate wouldn't hear the sound my heart made. Morning came like a judgment. I went to work, steam the dresses, feed the bride, call the florist who got lost on a street with 2 identical names, hydrate the bridesmaids, tape a hem, fix a lash, keep my distance from Caleb like he wore a hazard label. When our eyes accidentally met, we both ricocheted away, guilty as teenagers at a parent-teacher conference. Here's the problem with secrets. They puddle under doors. One of the groomsmen, Caleb's cousin, the kind who treats a wedding like a casino weekend, had seen us hugging by the loading dock and told his girlfriend. The girlfriend told a bridesmaid, while a curling iron hissed between them. The bridesmaid told another while someone pinned baby's breath to her head like a tiny crown. By 9, it was they were lingering. By 11, it was they disappeared. By noon, it had mutated to the ugliest word, affair. You can feel a rumor before you hear it. Conversations warp when you enter. People go too quiet or too loud. I kept my hands busy. Lena was radiant the way brides are, equal parts glow and nerves. I was a human firewall between her and the world. At 1:47 p.m., as the makeup artist drew perfect wings on Lena and the veil waited like a cloud on a chair, her sister, Nora, cornered me in the bathroom. Fluorescent lights, tile that echoed. She shut the door with the intent of a prosecutor. "Is there anything," she asked, "you need to say before my sister walks down an aisle?" My mouth went dry. I could have lied. I could have invented some misunderstanding about timelines and logistics and sleep. The truth sat in my throat like a coin you can't swallow or spit out. "There was a hug," I said, and my voice didn't sound like mine. "And a brief kiss." 3 seconds. It was a mistake. I love Lena. I would never. Nora's face did a slow fade, like someone dimming a room. She didn't yell. She just breathed like she'd been punched and said, "I have to tell her." 10 minutes later, I was standing in the bridal suite while Lena, in her gown, held her own hands like she didn't trust them. Her eyes were glassy, not from happy tears. "Did you," she asked, so soft I almost missed it, "kiss my fiancé?" I said yes. No excuses. No, we were drunk. We weren't. No, he pulled me in. We pulled each other into disaster. Just yes. And that it ended instantly, and that it was the worst decision I'd made in 27 years of decisions. Lena screamed once, a sound that didn't belong at a wedding. And then she went so still it scared me. Someone fetched Caleb. He came in looking like a man walking into a scan room. He told the same truth. 3 seconds, stupid, meaningless. The word meaningless landed like a stone thrown through stained glass. Lena's mother called me a homewrecker. An aunt demanded I be removed. A bridesmaid cried into a tissue like it was her job. A groomsman measured the room and told me to leave before he made me. The photographer stood by her lenses. The coordinator, back from fever with a mask of miraculous timing, said, "Postponed." Guests sat in pews with lukewarm water and questions you could taste in the air. 2 families argued in adjacent rooms. I stood very still and realized there are moments you can't unmake, no matter how much you want to pay or pray or rewind. I had to choose my next move. When we were 12, we swore to tell each other the truth, even when it was ugly. Back then, ugly truth meant crushes and report cards, and the way my dad sometimes forgot parent-teacher night. This was not that. This was the kind of truth that bulldozes a decade of trust in 3 heartbeats. I kept thinking of the tiny practicalities because the big picture was unbearable. Did I pack a backup garter? Were the boutonniere pins still in the Altoids tin? Did I charge a portable steamer? Did the caterer know Ethan has a tree nut allergy? If I could just manage the small, maybe the large would unclench its jaws. But the large didn't care about my lists. Outside, the sky was the wrong kind of blue. Perfect, like the universe had missed a memo. My phone buzzed nonstop with vendor group chats, and every ping felt like an alarm I didn't know how to silence. Somewhere down the hall, someone practiced vows out loud, and the word forever made my throat ache. I could feel people rewriting me in real time, from fix it a problem, from sister friend to cautionary tale. I want to grab the rumor by the roots and say, it was 3 seconds and it was wrong, and I am not a villain in satin heels. I am a human being with a bad moment. But the wedding machinery had already chewed my name into a headline. And that's when the sound in the suite dropped out, the kind of silence that makes you notice your own pulse. And then the door opened, and Lena looked at me with a certainty I'd never seen on her face before. She didn't shake. She didn't cry. She looked at me like a surgeon about to make a cut and said, "There's no ceremony today." Then to the room. "Everyone out. I need 10 minutes with her. Alone." They filed past, a parade of perfume and judgment. When the door clicked, Lena sat on the velvet bench and patted the opposite cushion. "Sit. I need facts, not apologies." So I gave them, the minute we walked to the loading dock, the cardboard granola bar, the relief hug, the 3-second kiss, the recoil, the immediate no. I told her I'd block Caleb, that I'd leave, that I'd pay whatever I could. I said the only sentence that fit in my mouth. "I am sorry." "Do you want him?" she asked. "No." She stared at our reflections. "Then why didn't either of you stop it sooner?" "I should have moved," I said. "I didn't. That's on me." She swallowed. "My mother wants you gone. Half the party wants blood. The other half thinks I'm dramatic. The families are about to stage a war in a church foyer. I don't know if I'm calling a car or a lawyer. If you need me to disappear, I will. What I need is to not have to manage you." The quiet of it cut. She inhaled. "Send Nora the vendor contacts. Don't text me. If I want to talk, I will." I gathered my binder and the emergency kit that could patch a small spaceship. At the door, I said, "I love you," plain and useless. She didn't answer. Hallways get longer when you're radioactive. A groomsman stepped into my path like a bouncer. "Unbelievable," he said. "You ruined it." "I know," I said, and kept moving. Outside, the weather had the audacity to be perfect. I sat on the curb, sent Nora the logistics, and rewrote my apology to Lena until it was small and clean. I cross a line. I won't contact you unless you ask. Tell me what cost to cover. I love you. Send. By evening, postpone had become no ceremony. A cousin posted the arbor with "love is complicated" and 3 broken heart emojis. I wanted to throw my phone in a river. I took a rideshare home and slid down my kitchen cabinets to the floor. My roommate, Mia, arrived barefoot, heels hooked in 2 fingers. Do I need a wine bottle or a sledgehammer? Both, I said. She handed me a glass and a plan. Tomorrow, therapist and HRCAP. Tonight, water and sleep. Also, delete the courtroom from your phone. I don't deserve comfort. You don't deserve a concussion either, she said. You fell. Now stitches. Sleep was a slideshow of bad angles. I woke to messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Some were condolences dressed as curiosity. Some advice sharpened like knives. Caleb's mother texted, I hope you're proud. Block. Then I asked myself out loud like a catechism, what is the ethical path forward? I made a list because lists are how I breathe. 1. Send Lena's parent a neutral statement to prevent rumor inflation. Or is that me grabbing the steering wheel? 2. Venmo costs, or is that hush money? 3. Leave group chats to reduce ambient pain, or is that running? 4. Wait in silence and accept what she decides, period. Around noon, my brother Sam called. He's a human pressure valve. Is there a version where I yell, he asked, or are we past that? I need a compass. North looks like this, he said. Offer restitution once, clearly. Then step back. Don't narrate your good deeds. Don't star in your apology. Time, therapy, boring consistency. Before we hung up, he added, and brace for people who like the old you, the fixer, to hate the new you, who's quiet. He wasn't wrong. Losing usefulness felt like losing skin. After we hung up, I called a therapist and left a mortifyingly detailed voicemail. I emailed HR for the EAP number. I texted Nora, sterile and short. I'm stepping out of the friend chats for now. If there are costs I should cover, please send totals when you're ready. No need to reply. An hour later, HR replied with a list of providers and a PDF titled Coping After Workplace Scandal. It wasn't a workplace scandal, but my body didn't care about jurisdiction. I booked the soonest intake and marked on a calendar that used to hold brunches and now held repairs. 2 days folded into each other like damp laundry. I walked the block at dusk. I didn't stalk social media, but people sent screenshots anyway. An aunt's Bible verse like a blade, a bridesmaid's vague book about women who don't respect a ring, a co-worker DM, is this about you? I closed the app and sat on my hands. When I wasn't pacing, I cleaned drawers, email, the corner of the closet where old programs from plays lived. Grief makes you organized because it can't be bargained with. Every few hours, I reach for my phone like a phantom limb, and then remember the instruction. Don't make it worse because you're panicking. So I did nothing, which felt like drowning politely. On day 3, a card arrived with no return address. Lena's handwriting, small and neat. I got your letter. I'm not ready to respond. Don't send money right now. I'll let you know if I need anything. Please leave me alone. It was a mercy and a verdict. That night, Mia pushed a box of lo mein into my hands and turned on a movie where no one kisses anyone. Halfway through, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Buzzed again. Voicemail. Then a text. It's Nora. Urgent. Please pick up. I stepped into the hallway and called. Are you alone? She asked. Yes. Caleb told his parents the kiss was mutual but meaningless. He's pushing to reschedule like this is a rain delay. My sister is not okay. Also, someone leaked your apology to a cousin chat. They're calling it PR spin. I sat on the floor. What do you need me to do? Answer one question and don't lie, she said. Before the kiss, did he test a line with you? Late night texts, soft flirts. Anything that makes this less random? There had been one moment 3 weeks earlier, a midnight vendor meltdown call, when he said, you make things feel easy, in a way that belonged to a different room. I changed the subject and pretended not to hear the undertow. Yes, I said, once. I ignored it. "Thank you," she said, and her voice steadied. "Our cousin is telling people you chase him in college." I needed to cut that rumor off. "Text me the therapist info. Lena won't ask. And keep sending anything money-related to me." The next morning, an envelope slid under my door. Venue deposit forfeiture. Photographer reschedule fee. Florist partial charge. I posted in Nora's print. "You offered. These you can cover without contacting her. If you can't, say so." I sat with it until sitting became choosing. Then I moved numbers around until they made a different shape and paid what I could, attached receipts, no commentary. For the first time since the implosion, the compass needle twitched toward north. Do the unglamorous right thing. Don't narrate it. Don't look back for applause. By afternoon, the friend group chat dinged one last time before I left it. A bridesmaid wrote good riddance after I exited. It stung less than I expected. Utility had been my passport. Without it, I was a tourist with a canceled visa. Around sunset, while I was washing a sinkful of already clean plates, my phone lit with a number I knew by heart, even blocked. Different phone, same sender. "Hey, it's Caleb. I know you blocked me. Please read." I should have deleted it. I should have forwarded it to Nora. I should have turned the phone face down and gone outside to breathe air that didn't know my name. Instead, I tapped. His next line made the dish slip from my hand and shatter in the sink. It said, "I think I kissed you because I don't want to get married." I stared until the words doubled. Another ping. "Please don't use this against me." I just panicked. "You're safe. You won't tell her, right?" My first thought was ugly and honest. If you don't want to marry her, why aim a grenade at me? My second was the responsible one. Forward to Nora, no commentary. I attached screenshots, then turned my phone off and breathed like it was a chore. Mia watched me rinse porcelain dust from my hands. "You look like you ran a mile in a nightmare." He says the kiss wasn't about me. It was about him not wanting to marry. "Of course it wasn't about you," she said gently. "But it landed on you. That's the part people see." The next morning I sat in a therapist's office that smelled like eucalyptus and new carpet. I told the story in a voice that kept breaking on the same syllables. When I got to the kiss, she didn't flinch. When I got to the text, she wrote one sentence on a yellow pad and slid it to me. "You can't steer other people's narratives. Only your behavior. I want to fix what I broke." "Some things can't be fixed," she said. "But there's repair. Repair is boring. It's receipts and boundaries and not auditioning for redemption." I left with homework. Daily routines that did include refreshing social media like a bruise, and one more letter if necessary, short, factual, without adjectives, addressed to Lena's parents only if asked. By noon, Nora replied to my screenshots. "Got them. Thank you. Don't reply if he contacts you again. We're dealing with it." An hour later, a message from an unknown email. Subject, clarify, body. We're hearing different versions. Could you send a short, factual timeline? Signed with the bride's father's name. My lungs forgot their job. I wrote in bullet points like I was reassembling a wreck with gloved hands. Where, when, how long? Who said what I'd paid, what I'd offered, what I'd refused to do. No adjectives. No plea. Sent. I put the phone on the mantle, like it could burn the desk. Then I took a long walk around blocks that had never looked so small. When I came back, there was a reply. "Thank you. No further contact." The quiet should have felt like relief. Instead, it was a vacuum, and vacuums make room for noise. A former classmate texted, "Heard you stole your best friend's fiancé." I typed and deleted a paragraph, then settled on, "You heard a rumor." I hurt someone I love. I'm stepping back. That's all. Send. Block. That afternoon, a knock. I braced for an aunt with Bible verses or a cousin with a lecture. It was a courier with a box the size of grief. Inside, my bridesmaid gift, a silk robe with my name stitched in pale thread, and the bracelet I'd given Lena at the bachelorette, taped to a note in Nora's hand. Returning these so no one has to decide later. She doesn't want you to keep tokens that will hurt. I sat on the floor and let the tears come like weather. Days layered. I worked. I slept. I went to therapy and learned my voice could make sentences around shame without catching fire. I took my name off a shared Spotify playlist I'd built with Lena during college road trips. I cooked food I could taste. The world did not end, which felt rude of it. On the 5th day after the non-wedding, my phone buzzed with a video from Mia. "Do not spiral," her text said, "but you should see this before it gets weaponized." The video was grainy, a security camera angle of the hotel's loading dock, 2 figures hugging. The angle made it look longer than it was. The comments were already a pile-on. Homewrecker, betrayal. She's always been jealous. No one who mattered had posted it. But the internet doesn't care about jurisdiction either. I walked the perimeter of my apartment 3 times. Then I sent the clip to Nora with one line. "Didn't post this, didn't leak it, won't respond publicly." She replied, "We know. Please ignore it." That night I dreamed of a hallway with 100 doors, all labeled "if only." If only I hadn't gone outside. If only I'd stepped back from the hug. If only I'd admitted earlier that I was running on martyr fuel, and martyr fuel makes you sloppy. On day 7, my phone lit up with Lena's name for the first time since the suite. It was a text. 3 words that made my heart stutter. "Can we talk?" I typed yes so fast I misspelled it, corrected it, and almost sent an apology paragraph before remembering. Short, clean, no adjectives. "Yes." Name a time and place. 2 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared. Then, tomorrow, 10 a.m. The Greenhouse Cafe on 3rd. Come alone. I set my alarm, then set another. I mapped and remapped the route, like I might forget how streets work. I ironed a shirt so plain it looked like an apology. Morning slid into me like cold water. I got to the cafe 15 minutes early and picked a table near the exit, so she wouldn't feel cornered. I kept my hands wrapped around a cup I didn't drink. At 9:59, the bell over the door chimed, and Lena walked in wearing sunglasses like armor and no ring. She sat. She didn't take off the sunglasses. "Ground rules," she said, voice steady. "No crying. No touching. No asking for forgiveness." "Okay." "No telling me what Caleb said. I don't want a relay. I want your lane." "Okay." She unhooked the sunglasses and pinched the bridge of her nose. Her eyes were puffy in the way that makes you want to burn the world down for a friend. "I'm not here to repair. I'm here because there are blanks and I want to paint them myself. Ask me anything." Her first question wasn't about the kiss. It was about 3 weeks earlier. "He started soft flirting with you, didn't he?" I told her about the midnight call and the "you make things feel easy," how I'd changed the subject and pretended a current wasn't tugging our ankles. She nodded once like an answer she already knew had been confirmed. Then she asked a question that pinballed around my ribcage since the suite. "Was any part of the kiss about you wanting him?" "No," I said, and the relief of saying it aloud was startling. It was about exhaustion and proximity and my boundaries being paper thin after a month of triaging everyone else's feelings. It was wrong. It wasn't desire. She sat back, like a verdict had arrived. "I believe you," she said quietly, "and I still can't look at you without seeing white noise." We let the greenhouse clatter around us. Milk frothers hissing. Someone laughing 3 tables over like life is allowed to be normal. Lena turned her cup in small circles. "Here's what you don't know," she said. 6 weeks ago, I found a message thread with his ex harmless on the surface, not harmless underneath. I told myself it was nostalgia. Then the rehearsal week happened, and I told myself stress makes people sloppy. Then you and the loading dock, and suddenly the story I'd been narrating to myself didn't hold. I felt both seen and erased. I was the symptom, not the disease. If I could cut myself out of it, I would. "You can't," she said, not unkindly, "but you can be quiet." She reached into her bag and slid an envelope across the table. Payment receipts, Fadag Florist, venue. "Nora said you cover what you could. Thank you. Don't cover more. I don't want money to be a tether." "I understand." She put the sunglasses back on like a shield reassembled. "I'm not rescheduling," she said. "That's not because of you alone, but you'll always be the moment everything came into focus. That's a fact we both have to live with." I nodded. There was nothing to fix in that sentence. It was already true. She stood. "We're not friends," she said, and the words landed like a quiet earthquake. "Maybe someday we're acquaintances who nod in a grocery store. For now, we're two people who once loved each other enough to tell the truth badly." It should have ended there. It didn't. Because as she turned, the bell over the door chimed again, and Caleb walked in like a plot twist that didn't read the room. He froze when he saw us. Then he walked to our table, eyes on Lena. "Don't," she said, but he had momentum. "I just need 2 minutes," he said. "Please." She lowered the sunglasses an inch. "You have 30 seconds. He looked at me like I was a person-shaped problem. Then he looked at her like he wished he were the man in the vows he'd never say. "I panicked," he said. "I did a coward thing. I want to make it right." "You want to make it go away," Lena said. "Different verbs." He flinched. The cafe went quieter, because people love a scene they can pretend not to watch. "Tell me you didn't mean it," he said. "About canceling." She didn't blink. "I meant it." He swallowed. "Then at least tell me you blame her more than me." Lena's mouth curved in something that wasn't a smile. "You two made the same mistake at the same time. But only one of you was promising me a future while doing it." She picked up her bag. "My coffee is cold. That's our 30 seconds. She brushed past him. He grabbed the back of a chair like he needed something to hold or break. For one suspended second, he looked ready to say something unforgivable. And then he said something worse. "I'm going to tell them she started it," he said, chin tilted toward me, voice low enough to pass for polite. "If you cancel, I won't wear all of it." The words were small. The threat was not. Lena stopped, turned, and in that moment, I remembered every science fair where she'd outstared judges twice her size. "You'll tell them whatever helps you sleep," she said, "and I'll send them the text where you said you kissed her because you didn't want to marry me." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. Color climbed his neck. "You screenshotted me?" "No," she said, but she did the one ethical thing she's managed this month. She sent them to Nora when you used the side door. His shoulders dropped. A barista banged a portafilter a little too hard. I tried to become a smaller object. Lena turned to me, and for a breath there was something like our old shorthand under the scrap metal. "Leave," she said. "Both of you." Separately. I walked. Outside, air hit my face like a reprimand. I stood under the crooked sign and pretended to fiddle with my keys so I wouldn't watch them exit. When I finally looked up, he was gone. She was across the street, head bowed, thumbs moving over her phone like she was stitching her life closed. That afternoon, Nora texted, "Thanks for the screenshots." He tried. We cut him off. "We're done discussing him with you. Rest of this goes through me." I typed back, understood. Then I deleted the chat thread, so I wouldn't use it like a life raft. There's a weird sameness to days after a public mistake. You wake up, you do normal things with the weight of abnormal on your chest. I went to work and completed tasks like someone who could be trusted with staplers. I made rice. I took showers long enough to hear the water heater click. I sent one last email to the vendor trio I'd partially compensated, confirming payments posted, confirming I wouldn't be involved in rescheduling, wishing them well like a human with no claims. On day 10, my therapist said, "You're doing a lot of doing. What are you feeling?" "Like a building after a fire. The skeleton's there. The rooms are black. Do you think you deserve to rebuild?" I think deserve is a word that makes my hands shake. She nodded. "Then let's use choose." I chose to unplug from the rumor current. I left the main group chat and the sub-chat where memes went to be nourished. I didn't look at the security video again. I wrote one page, pen and paper ugly, about the part of me that wanted to drive to Lena's apartment with flowers and a speech, and then I put the page in a drawer and sat on my hands until the urge faded like a fever. Weeks stretched, 3, then 4. The world's attention wandered to other fires. The security video got bumped by a dog skateboarding through a farmer's market. Someone from college got engaged on a cliff. I remembered how to laugh without flinching at the end of it. Then, on a Tuesday that smelled like rain and copier toner, I ran into Lena's dad at the pharmacy. The universe has a dark sense of scheduling. He saw me before I could duck down the sunscreen aisle. "Hi," he said. "Not warm." Not hostile. Human. Hi, I said. I kept my hands visible, like I was pulling over. We stood between vitamins and gummy bears while the pharmacist called last names. He cleared his throat. You sent a clear timeline. You paid what you could. You didn't argue in our inbox. That matters more than you think. I don't expect. I know, he said, but I also watched you grow up. People are not only their worst day. I swallowed a noise that wanted to be a sob and a laugh at once. How's she? He looked down at the slip in his hand. In motion, which is better than in a bed. He folded the paper. Don't reach out. She'll pick her own distances. But he paused, searching for a word you can give the villain in your family story without betraying your protagonist. Stay boring, he said finally. Boring is trustworthy. I nodded like he'd told me a recipe. He left smelling like rain and dad cologne. I stood very still and let the moment put a small brick in a wall I hoped might someday be a bridge. 2 more weeks. The ache before sleep, dull from blowtorch to candle. My apartment got cleaner than any lease required. Once, a stranger DM'd me a paragraph that began, "You don't deserve friends," and I closed my phone and went outside and counted buses instead of defending myself to a profile photo of a palm tree. Then Nora called. Not text, call. I know we said no contact, she said. This is logistics. Okay. Lena's clearing the storage unit. Do you still have the spare key on your ring? It's under your name. I looked down. The small brass key I'd carried for months, the symbol of trust and dried peonies. Yes, I said. I'll drop in your mailbox. No, she said, surprising me. Bring it Saturday noon. Unit 17B. Leave it on the counter just inside the door. She'll come after. You don't want me to see her. Understood. Actually, Nora said, and the words softened. She asked that you come a half hour before her and take whatever is yours. There's a box labeled MOH kit. And she said, Nora exhaled. She said if you want her to keep the bracelet. She will, otherwise she'll return it. Tell her to keep it, I said, and my voice broke on the P. Please. Saturday, the storage facility smelled like concrete and old wood. Unit 17B rolled up with a rattle. Inside, a small city of white boxes and silvery garment bags like ghosts on a clothes rack. On the counter sat my binder, my Altoids tin of pins, the portable steamer, and a note in, not Nora's, Lena's small upright handwriting. Take these. I don't want to see them again. Bracelet, keeping. L. I put my hand flat on the note, like it might evaporate. I gathered my things quietly, like leaving a sleeping house. At the door, I hesitated. There was a big box marked Arbor Florals. Another marked Vows. I had the impulse to straighten their labels, to be helpful one last time. I put my hands in my pockets instead. As I stepped into the corridor, footsteps clicked, quick and certain. Reflex spun me. Lena. No sunglasses. Hair in a messy knot. No ring. We froze 3 yards apart. Surprise doing its awkward dance. I thought you were coming later, I said. I couldn't look at it on paper anymore, she said. I needed to touch it. We stood with the door, yawning open between us. Inside, the ghost watched. I'll go, I said. Wait, she said. Her mouth twisted. Do you remember sophomore year when you kept me from bleaching my hair in a dorm sink at 2 a.m.? You were going through a pixie Geldof phase. You said, we can't fix ugly with chemicals, only with time. She smiled without humor. Turns out that line works on more than hair. Something in my chest loosened like a stubborn jar, finally opening. She nodded at the binder under my arm. Thank you for paying what you did. Thank you for not going public. Thank you for not making me hold your feelings when mine felt like a dropped mirror. I wish I protected you sooner, I said. I wish a lot of things, she said. Most of them aren't possible. We stood there, the past like a chorus at our backs. She glanced at the box labeled Vows. I keep thinking I should burn them, she said. But I don't want drama. I want compost, something that turns into soil someday. I hope it does, I said. Her eyes filled, caught cleared. We're not friends, she repeated softly, less like a verdict and more like a boundary with flowers planted along it. But someday, if we live in the same city and I see you at a crosswalk, I'll nod. I'll nod too. We looked at each other 1 second more than was comfortable, 1 second less than forever. Then she stepped into the unit, and I stepped back into the corridor. As I reached the elevator, my phone buzzed. An unknown number again. The preview made my stomach tilt. Hey, it's Caleb. Final time. I know you told them. Meet me. I just want to say, the elevator doors open like a choice. I got in. I let the doors close. And I decided that if he wanted to say anything else, he could say it to the air. 2 months is long enough for a wound to stop bleeding and start itching. I kept therapy like a standing appointment with a mirror. I ran 3 miles without bargaining with myself. I took the long way to avoid the bakery where we'd pick cake flavors, because healing doesn't need extra hurdles. At work, a new hire asked, innocent, "Are you the one with the viral wedding thing?" My mouth did a strange thing before my brain could steer. I'm the one who made a mistake and is now boring for sport. She blinked. Okay. Then we talked about printers. Boring had texture I'd never noticed. It was reading before bed instead of doom scrolling. It was returning library books on time. It was sending an unsolicited apology to a bridesmaid I'd snapped at during rehearsal week and not checking if she read it. It was rescuing a plant on my windowsill because I could, not because the plant would clap. Some nights, out of nowhere, my chest would cinch tight, and I'd sit on the rug with my back against the couch and count lamps until the feeling passed. Some mornings I forgot for a whole hour, and then I'd remember in the elevator, standing beside a man with a coffee that smelled like the venue's foyer. One Thursday, an email arrived from Lena with a subject line as stark as a hospital corridor statement. I stared so long the screen dimmed itself like a shy person. Inside, 2 paragraphs. The first, she'd sent a group message to family and the bridal party saying the following were the facts. The kiss happened. It lasted seconds. No affair. The wedding was called off. There would be no more discussion. The second, I am not opening a debate. Please don't reply to this with your opinions about forgiveness. Please don't send me rumors. If you send either, I will mute you. Thank you for respecting my sanity. My throat got hot. She had taken the narrative out of the carnival and put it in a plainly lit room. I wrote back one line. Thank you for stating the facts. I won't reply again. Wishing you quiet. Then, hand hovering, I deleted even that. She didn't need my thanks. She needed space. 2 days later, I ran into Caleb on the sidewalk outside my building like a coincidence, auditioning for fate. He looked thinner in a way that probably made people ask if he was okay. He stepped into my path the way men are taught will be forgiven. I don't want to talk, I said. I just want to apologize, he said. Not to get you back, or, God, not to fix anything. I've been telling myself I tripped into that kiss. I didn't. I put myself on the staircase. I held up a hand. No relay. No relief. Deliver your apology to the therapist you should be seeing. He winced, nodded. Then he did something I didn't expect. He stepped out of my way. I'm sorry, he said to the air between us, like I'd trained myself to do. For the kiss. For the text. For making you carry weight that wasn't yours. I walked around him. My legs felt like I just left a plank position. I didn't tell Nora. I didn't tell Lena. I didn't write it down to make it real. I just kept going, and the sky stayed up. 2 more weeks. My brother Sam sent a photo of his newborn. Cheeks like proof the world still makes soft things. I cried into my cereal for a reason that contained no shame. Mia and I took a weekend trip to a town with 1 main street and 2 pie shops. I bought a secondhand book with someone else's notes in the margins. In pencil, on a page about forgiveness, a stranger had written, "Forgiveness is not equal to access." I folded the corner and called it a sermon. On a Sunday night with laundry humming, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw a bouquet I recognized before I saw the carrier. The florist in the wedding, holding a vase with white ranunculus and rosemary. A card for the person who packed us snacks and labeled every boutonniere. This is not absolution. It's acknowledgement. M&S, the vendor owners. I carried the flowers to the table like a breakable ceasefire. I didn't post them. I didn't text anyone a photo. I watched them open over days, and then I threw them out when they browned. Closure isn't a mantelpiece. It's compost. On a Tuesday that tasted like metal, I got the text I hadn't rehearsed for. From Lena. Again, 3 words that changed the shape of my apartment. I have news. My fingers hovered over yes. Instead, I typed, I'm here. She replied, coffee? Tomorrow. Same place. Sleep was a rumor. The cafe bell chimed like deja vu. She was already there, sunglasses off, hair down, face a little less underwater. She let me sit. She looked at my hands and then at my face. I'm moving, she said. New job, new city. I gripped the edge of the table. Do you want congratulations or solidarity groans? A little of both. She exhaled. I wanted you to hear from me and not from someone's caption. I'm glad you told me, I said, and meant it in bones. She toyed with the sleeve of her cup. There's one more thing, she said slowly. In the interest of never again being hit by a truck labeled information, I need the rest of the pieces from your perspective, not to litigate, to put in a drawer. Anything you remember that I might trip over later. I told her about the late-night logistics turning into blurred boundaries. The way being the fixer had made me high on usefulness. The undertow line from weeks before, the doc, the texts. She listened without writing my words on her face, like a courtroom doodler. When I finished, she nodded once as if to herself. I'm not forgiving you, she said. Not today. Maybe not ever. But I'm not spending the next 10 years letting one moment be the basket where I put every egg labeled trust. I'm going to build a different basket. Good, I said, and it wasn't about me. We sat in the greenhouse light, with our cups like props. She cleared her throat. There is one thing you can do for me, she said. Anything. She winced. Not anything. This specific thing. When people ask you what happened, and they will, at the worst times, say the same sentence every time. Don't improvise. Don't season it with context. Say, I crossed a line. It lasted seconds. It cost years. I'm not the victim. I swallowed. Okay. And if you ever feel tempted to tell someone I'm harsh or dramatic or stubborn, because I didn't take you back into my life, she added, tell them I'm careful. Okay. I said again, and there was a kind of freedom in the script. She stood. This is probably for a while. I know. She touched the chair back, the way you touch something to steady yourself in a dark room. You saved me from bleach once, she said, almost smiling. I'll give you that forever. This, she gestured at the space between us. You don't get back. Understood. She walked to the door. The bell chimed her exit, like an end credit. I stared at the steam from my cup until it thinned into the air. My phone buzzed as I left. A news alert. Big engagement in our city's social circle. Not hers. Not mine. The world kept choosing people and unchoosing them. I was an ant on the sidewalk beneath it all, carrying one crumb at a time. That night, Mia asked, "Do you feel better?" "No," I said. "I feel realer." "Real is how things grow," she said, and handed me a bowl of strawberries like a small red ceremony. Days later, the last thing I expected happened. A letter slid under my door with my name in Lena's hand. Inside, a single index card. On one side, "I don't wish you ill." On the other, "I don't wish you close." I set it on the mantel beside a plant that was learning to lean toward light again. A week after that, in line at the pharmacy, I glanced up to see her sister 2 people ahead. Nora turned, saw me, and didn't look away. She stepped out of line and walked back to me. "She's moving next month," Nora said, businesslike and almost kind. "I'm flying out to help. There's one last thing we want from you." I braced without quite knowing what for. "We want you to send one group message," she said, "to the core friend chat you left. One sentence. No emotion. No blame. What sentence?" I cross a line. I'm stepping back indefinitely. "Please don't include me in conversations about Lena unless she asks." I nodded. "I can do that." "Do it tonight," she said. "Then mute the thread. Then live your life." I typed it that evening with hands that didn't shake. I muted the thread. I turned off my phone and stood in the quiet of my apartment. And in that quiet, with the city humming outside like a machine you can't see, I realized the dilemma I'd been carrying since the loading dock had finally sorted itself into 2 doors, clearly marked. Door A, I write a long clarifying statement to every mutual, every aunt, every person who'd met me a pitchfork. I try to control how I'm remembered by people who prefer scandal with their coffee. I keep talking because silence feels like drowning. Door B, I stop performing repentance. I keep doing it. Payments, therapy, boundaries, boring choices. I let people think wrong things about me in rooms I don't enter. I accept that not grabbing the steering wheel is, in fact, steering. I pick B, not because I'm noble, because A had already eaten too many hours, because the therapist said, quiet as a muscle, and mine had finally stopped trembling. Summer rolled its shoulders into fall. Lena moved. I know, because Nora posts a photo of a skyline I'd never seen, and a caption with a single box emoji. I liked it with my burner account of a lurker-level acquaintance. No, I didn't like it at all. I closed the app and wrote a postcard to my nephew who could not read. It said, welcome to the world. Try not to bite it back. Once at a crosswalk, I thought I saw her across the street in a coat the color of tea. It wasn't her. My stomach still did its old somersault, and then it didn't. I bought a scone and ate the top, first like a kid. On a gray afternoon, my therapist asked, if you could speak to the version of you outside the loading dock, what would you tell her? I didn't think. Go home, then sleep, then stop confusing being useful with being good. She smiled. Would she listen? Probably not. She liked gold stars. We both smiled, sad and fond of the girl in the sequin dress, sprinting between crises like applause was oxygen. A month later, Mia taped a comic on our fridge, a person holding a houseplant saying, you don't need to be amazing, you need to be watered. I watered the plant. It didn't applaud. It did, slowly, turn toward the window. On a Saturday, I walked past a church just as bells pealed for someone else's forever. Freshly married people spilled onto steps. Friends cheering like their throats didn't remember crying. The groom hugged an old woman. The bride threw her head back and laughed a laugh that hadn't met mine. I didn't flinch. I wished them boring. I wished them compost for the hard days. I wished them friends who can say no and mean it. A week later, Lena texted me a photo at 6:12 a.m., a sunrise over a river I couldn't name. No caption. I stared, then typed, that's beautiful. Hope you're warm. I watched the 3 dots appear and go. Then a heart reaction to my sentence. Nothing else. It felt like seeing a lighthouse from far water. Not an invitation in, but a signal that the shore existed. Months pulled tight, and then slack like the city's breath. I got promoted. I taught Mia's kid cousin how to parallel park without collateral damage. I said no to planning a co-worker's engagement party and didn't write a thesis about why. I learned to leave a room when my brain wanted to audition. I made chili and didn't post it. I slept through the night. One evening at dusk, Lena sent one final text. I found the bracelet in a box and didn't cry. I typed and erased a dozen responses until the right one surfaced. I'm glad it's somewhere it can shine. She reacted with a check mark. A minute later, we're still not friends. Another minute. But I'm not bracing when your name shows up. I put the phone face down and let the ceiling be a sky. Here's the thing about implosions. The first days are sirens and ash. The middle is scaffolding and permits. The end isn't a ribbon cutting. It's a door you use without thinking. I can't say I'm grateful for the way everything broke. I can say I learned to keep my hands to myself, my mouth short, my heart honest, and my calendar boring. The rumor never apologized. The internet never issued a correction. A cousin still probably tells a version of the story where I lurked like a fox in lipstick. That's fine. I don't live in their mouths. I wrote a final letter I'll never send, folded it twice, and put it in the drawer with a page about bleach. I loved you. I hurt you. I stepped back. That was the whole thing. The whole thing was enough. And if you're waiting for me to tie a bow and say we got brunch and laugh like a sitcom cutscene, no. The resolution is smaller and truer. She got a view of water. I got a plant that doesn't die. We both got a future. If you listened this far, thank you for letting me tell the worst and most instructive weekend of my life out loud. I'm going to turn off my phone now and do the dishes without breaking one. If I'm lucky, the only sound in my apartment will be water, and the only thing I'll be tempted to control is a burner. If you felt something, do me a favor. Tap like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next story. And tell me this, honestly. If you were me, would you have written a long statement to everyone to control the narrative, or stayed quiet and let time and your actions do the talking? Tell me what you do in the comments.